show. Always.
Welcome back to another episode of Beer Talks with Mark and Jake. I'm Mark. He's Jake. He's Jake. I'm Mark.
Well, we have a third person today.
We do.
Mr. Aaron. Please pronounce your last name again. I'm going to mess it up.
Schickel.
Aaron Schickel.
Good German name.
Oh, nice.
We are from, if you couldn't see, we're here at Franklin Brewing. Now, is it Franklin Brewing Co. or Franklin Brewing?
Either one works.
Okay. All right. Franklin Brewing Co.
Brewing Co. You're just going to say it now?
Yeah.
But yes, we are actually on location. First time we've been on location at a brewery. We're actually going to be here the next day, depending on when this video comes out, tasting the beer. But we actually had an opportunity to interview Mr. Aaron today. So let's just jump right into some questions Mark had set up.
So Aaron, how did you become interested in brewing beer, like all the way back to the beginning?
Well, I got a homebrew kit for Christmas one year, and just kind of went from there.
Yeah.
It was I believe it was like a spiced ale recipe that came out terrible, but it was it was better than most things that I had been drinking at the time. So
right.
I kind of got the bug and just started going from there.
And how long have you been? So since then, how long have you been brewing?
Oh Jesus, 20 plus years.
Wow.
Couldn't really put a date on it. I mean, probably started when I was 22, 23.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And then I'm 49 now as of 2 days ago. So yeah.
Happy belated.
Thank you.
Oh, wow. So that's a long time.
Right.
You don't have to say it like that.
I'm just
I was going to say, I think when I started brewing, it was, so I homebrew, and it started maybe 2 years ago. And it started with a pre-made kit out of a 5-gallon bucket with the little tin. Are we recording? Yeah. Did you have to make sure?
I know about that stuff. You know that. At least one time per show, I get
it's all good, man.
Yeah. But yeah, it started with that 5-gallon bucket, and it was a pre-made kit, and it was a half of icing, and it tasted like a generic beer that was made with syrup, and that was.
Well, I think that's how most people start.
Yeah.
You get the bug. With me, I'm kind of geek out on stuff. So
yeah.
After the first one, I just started reading about things, and this was, the internet was still, it wasn't what it is today.
Right.
I mean, there was information there, but not. I mean, you really had to kind of search and dig for things, and so I was looking for like local homebrew shops and wine shops and things like that, and bought I think every book and magazine that I could find on how to brew and what to do, and one thing led to the next, and I went from kits to making my own recipes and doing all grain stuff and learning about water profiles and other things and stuff that most people shouldn't have to deal with.
Yeah.
See, whenever you guys start to talk beer, I'm just so amazed because it's like you're part chemist too. Like you're just making sure the levels are right. What type of water, what type of hops, or how much hops, and it's just like it's really no pun intended, but a really dedicated craft.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just amazing to hear you guys talk about it.
Yeah, it's I would say it's probably 80% chemistry.
Right.
And 20% desire.
right.
But and I that's what's funny, I was never really good with chemistry or science or any of that stuff. And I'm a musician. I was kind of a musician by trade, and then wound up doing this, and now I'm a brewer by trade. And it's just something I fell into, and I'm sure that there's tons of things that I do that somebody like Matt Cole or somebody might look and be like, I wouldn't necessarily do that. But I still look at it as, even though I've been doing it a while, I still have a ton to learn. And,
for sure.
If any of those seasoned pros would come in and talk, I'd be more than willing to absorb as much as I possibly could because the ultimate goal is to make the best beer that you can make.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Do you personally have a favorite type of style of beer you enjoy drinking?
Yeah, it's pretty simple. Pilsners, I guess.
Okay.
I'm kind of a Pilsner guy. I've kind of gone the gamut. I liked IPAs there for a while. Belgians, I've always had a special spot for Belgians in my heart. It doesn't really matter what they are, doubles, triples, whatever. But I always find myself when I, like, what am I going to have? Standing in the store or whatever,
right.
I'll lean to a Pilsner because it's crisp, it's clean, it's easy to drink,
Okay.
Goes well with just about anything I want to eat. So
makes sense.
Is there a difference in beers you like to drink versus beers you like to brew?
I do enjoy brewing the IPAs, just because I get to play with a lot of hops, and it's always fun to play with lots of hops.
Yeah.
Right.
And dry hop things and that type of stuff. I obviously will drink them as well, but I have one in the tank now. I call it a palate wrecker, just because of the hops that are in it.
Oh, wow.
They're not huge bitey hops, but they will definitely linger and put a coat on your tongue and last. So I usually tell people if you're going to drink this beer, it should probably be the only thing you're going to drink for the night, or it should be the last thing you're going to drink for the night, because afterwards everything's going to taste like it.
Can you give me some terminology? What would you describe as bitey hops?
Wow. Something that it just depends on the IBUs and how you hop it, and when you're adding the additions.
Okay.
So when you first take that swig, and you're just like bam, it kind of punches you in the mouth.
Okay,
and
I see
you
what you're
taste
saying.
that citrus or the pine or the bitter or whatever it is that grabs you. That's what I guess I call bitey hops.
Okay. He said
it's not really a technical term. It's just
no.
It's just a making up words term is what it is.
I like it though. I like it because it gives it like its own characteristic. Like, oh, just put that in the description for it.
Right.
Shoot.
Right.
But I'm awful at writing beer descriptions, so that's like
it's okay.
Learning more words.
Right. Yeah, it definitely takes me a while to do that too.
Yeah.
So did you, during your journey, did you ever have your eyes set on a beer that you wanted to brew, and you waited to do it, you waited for the perfect time, and you did it, and it just turned out bad? Like you did all your homework, and it's like, oh man, I'm about to kick this beer out the park, and it just turns out just straight no.
Yeah, I guess I could say a lot of them. I mean, when you're...
Are you talking about me?
Several shots.
Yeah, okay, all right.
I'm going to say there's some inside jokes going on
that was absolutely... I put a lot of effort into researching brewing a Christmas ale, and water profile and hops and other additions, and it took all the time in the world to do it. And I actually started like super early in the day, like everything was perfect. And then the beer got infected, and I ended up having to dump it. And I stopped brewing for like 3 months because I was like,
he was so distraught.
I was upset.
I totally understand. I mean, there's been stuff that we've done that I did a few stouts and porters and things that I was like, they're turning out, this is going to be awesome. The numbers are where I need to be, and then I start pulling samples out of the tanks, and I'm like, I wasn't making balsamic vinaigrette, was I?
Oh, wow.
And it's like, that's not getting any better, so we're going to have to do something with that. But I mean, it happens. It's all about learning, and
right.
I think along the way it just teaches you better techniques and things to do. A lot of it's cleanliness. It comes down to if you follow the numbers, you follow the percentages. You just got to make sure that your stuff is clean.
Yeah.
Okay.
And,
yep.
I have a habit of if I'm going to brew, I clean the day before I brew. So I try to schedule things where if I'm getting something out of a tank, I'm cleaning it the next day, and then I'm brewing the following day.
Okay.
So that way there's really no chance that I see for something to grow or to
makes sense.
If I wait a little while and go, well, I cleaned these last week and they're still clean, that's when I run into problems.
Yeah.
Okay.
At least with me.
Yep.
So
for those that aren't, I mean, you guys are looking at the camera here. You're just seeing the wall. Tell us a little bit about the wall. I know that you said you handmade it.
Yeah, it's it was myself and my marketing guy Howard Ross, and then a friend of ours, Art, who we just kind of came when we could. I didn't have a job, so I was pretty much here for the past year, just trying to piece things together, and this was really a labor of love. We wanted to carry something over from, we originated in a pole barn garage in my backyard. It was a 2-car pole barn garage that I had all the equipment in, and we still had that rustic vibe to it.
That's awesome.
We put a similar thing like this on the walls that had the open ceilings, and that you could see the trusses and all that. So we were trying to keep some of that here, and we just people get rid of pallets all the time.
Yeah.
So we wound up with thousands of pallets. Well, it all sounds like a great idea, until you start ripping pallets apart, and then you realize we've been a week ripping the pallets apart, and we haven't even got into sanding and doing the other staining and everything that needs to go into it. So so this is literally hundreds and hundreds of pallets that we ripped apart. We sanded, and then we secured them up to the wall, and there was portions of it where I wanted to make it like a puzzle. So I was looking for things that we could just kind of fit together and just give it kind of a different vibe.
Yeah.
And then about a quarter of the way up, it was like, that's too much trouble. I spent more time staring at wood on the floor trying to find the exact piece that would fit. So I just started cutting them all pretty much to 2, 3, and I think like 5 inches, and
Gotcha.
we just kind of went from there. But
Yeah.
It looks really
yeah,
good.
it took a while.
It looks really good.
Yeah.
Especially for you just throwing, in a sense, like
It's
after
like
having it done.
20 feet up and like 30 some feet long. So yeah, it was a lot of fun.
Reminds me of the floor in my house.
I could see like just your dedication, like how you speak about beer, but it's more like your dedication towards this craft. Because let's be honest, if you really didn't care that much, like who would have thought of something like this? Like,
Yeah.
come on, and just having the I often say this, people think for the surface. You actually take a deeper appreciation, think below surface. Like, okay, how can I make this me? This is gonna be me. This is so yeah.
Well, this is, yeah, I mean, I guess if I'm going to do it to the best of my ability.
Right.
You know, I can't just do something and half-ass it and be like, yeah, that's kind of the way it's going to go. But no, I throw myself into everything I do, and sometimes that's not for the best.
Hey,
but
same
you know,
way.
because things have to suffer, you know. And this has kind of been I guess, blood, sweat, and tears, and a passion to see this thing get off the ground. And you know, we've been at it this is the 10th year now that we've been doing this. And, you know, last year we didn't have anything coming in because we were just doing this.
Mm-hmm.
The years before we were just, we just did distribution, you know, to restaurants and bars.
Yep.
And then we started doing like cans and, you know, 4-pack cans and growlers and stuff to go. And that introduced us more to some of the local people. And that's kind of what we were going for because, you know, when you're just doing distribution, it's just a name that's out there.
Right,
People don't really know a whole lot about it. So Howard and I, when we first started doing it, we would make a point to go to the restaurants or go to the bars that we were at and just kind of like hang for a little bit, you know, stop and be like, hey, here's some cards, here's some coasters, here's some things, you know, we'll talk to you about the beer. And that actually got people to be like, oh, that's kind of cool. A brewer's never stopped in. You know, the brewery has never come here. It's always just a distributor coming here.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's huge.
So we try to keep that same attitude and then the things we do. So when people come in here now, you know, we like to tell the stories of how we did what we did and why we're still here and still plugging along. And hopefully we'll be here for the foreseeable future.
Yeah.
So how was that, or what was that jumping point from going from your backyard into this? Like, what was, like, did you guys just like wake up one morning like, you know what, enough with the BS, we about to go worldwide?
Yes, believe it or not, yeah, it was pretty much that simple. I mean, like I said, I had always been homebrewing for a number of years.
Right.
And it started with, you know, a batch here and there, you know, and then slowly started getting a little bit better. And then I slowly started going, well, I need to make things to dedicate for doing fermentation and control over temperatures. And so I started building things. And then that kind of spiraled into some other stuff. And, you know, the more I started making them, the more I would hand them out to friends. And then people were like, you know, this stuff's actually getting pretty good. You know, you should think about selling it. And I was, nah, I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that. And then one day I was just like, you know, why not? What would it take to do this? Mm-hmm. So I started doing my research as far as the government goes and the state and all that stuff. And I'm like, you know, it's really not that difficult. I mean, it is. There's a lot of paperwork and a lot of things to do, but you know, nobody had done it on a scale that I was looking to do it on. You know, they were like Great Lakes and those guys who were much larger, who had the capital and were like, we're starting a legitimate business. And here basically I am a home brewer going, yeah, I can make 5 gallons of this stuff. Yeah. You know, and I think I can find people to buy it. You know? and that's pretty much what it was. And so we did that for a little while, not really selling, but just kind of giving things away. And then Howard just kind of kept pushing me a little bit, like, you know, you really do something with this. You should do something with this. And I'm like, no. And he's like, oh, look, I'll help you with the marketing side of it if you do this side of it. And I was like, well, let me think about it. And then I had an opportunity. I was moving, and I found a house that had this pole barn in the backyard. And I was like, well, maybe I could put it there. And my better half at the time said, yeah, you know, go ahead. You know, that's cool. Do what you got to do. And we started with 55-gallon drums that I pieced together and, you know, made. It was a barrel and a half system. And then we just kind of grew from there. And, I mean, we're not much bigger than what we were, but we're, you know, 3 barrels now. And it's all stainless and nice, shiny, professional stuff. Yeah. But, you know, we've come a long way from that. So the jump was really, I'm just going to do this. And I remember when we were official and I got all the paperwork and everything and said, okay, we can now legally sell this product. I think we had $100 in the bank. And I told Howard, I said, permits are paid, everything's taken care of, but I don't know if we'll be in business next month. I don't know if we'll be in business next year. I don't know if we'll be able to pay for the next permit, but
here we are. Let's see what we can do with this. And like I said, that was 10 years later. So, and now we've got a place where people can come and sit down. So it's a whole nother beast all in itself.
That's so wild. Yeah.
I take the long road for a lot of things.
Ain't nothing wrong with that.
So let's talk a little bit about the ambiance here at Franklin Brewing Co. So the name is based off of, I'm guessing, Ben Franklin.
Correct.
So you can see, if you can't see it, I mean, you're not going to be able to see it in the camera, but there's this wall of just founding fathers. Looks awesome. The woods here. Where did you get the name Franklin Brewing Co.? Besides just like what drew you to Ben Franklin?
I'm kind of a history buff. History's always been a thing that I really enjoyed, all through school, even when I was younger. I just enjoy learning about things that, I don't know if they're useless facts or whatever, but I just find these types of things intriguing, to think that people can do the things that they did without having the technology we did of the day,
Facts.
So Ben to me is the quintessential American. I've read a lot about him and studied a lot about him, and personally, without Ben, I don't think we would have the country that we have today. He's responsible for so many things that most people don't even know and they take for granted. If it hadn't been for Ben, we wouldn't have fire departments.
Yeah.
He started the first fire department.
He did.
If
I did not
it
know
hadn't
this.
been for Ben, we wouldn't have the post office. There's lots of things that he was like, why don't we do this? Why don't we do this? Why don't we do that? He started the University of Pennsylvania. He was the governor of Pennsylvania. There's so many things that he did. I mean, he signed every document that made us what we are as a country.
Yeah.
That's pretty fly. I never knew that.
So going back to why, the history buff side of it, but I wanted a name that would be easy to remember.
Yeah.
And Franklin and Franklin Brewing just seemed to kind of flow a little bit together. So I was like, why not? Let's do it. And then we just went off of that. And then the more I started learning about Ben, that's when we started naming the beers after him. So pretty much everything that we make is based off of him in one way or another.
That's cool. I like to see that continuance of naming and stuff. There's that linear path that you follow through.
Yeah, it makes for good stories too. So that goes back to the whole thing of, the personal touch of when people come in. One of us is always here. So when people start asking questions, we can, hey, here's the story around this, and here's why we did this. And it, I don't know, people seem to like it.
Yeah, I think that keeps people coming back for sure.
Oh, yeah, for sure. You got any more questions over there on the phone?
Yeah, I was going to say, what's your favorite beer that you made that's probably on tap right now?
I would say probably Anthony's Afterwit, which is our Belgian-style wit beer.
Okay. Yeah.
And goes back to the whole naming thing. Ben wrote in many pen names because obviously he was a printer when he started, in case people didn't know that or the audience doesn't know that. But that's kind of how he got into the whole trade, is he was a printer. And he found out that, people would write in and talk about the things of the day, whatever was going on. And some of it became obviously political and that type of thing. But Ben, he had a funny side to him as well. So he would write in with different types of pen names and print this stuff and be like, yeah, I don't know who this is, but hey, this person wrote this whole thing. And it kind of started catching on. And one of the pen names that he used was Anthony's Afterwit. But he used wit as being funny. So it was Anthony after, being funny, and then the stuff that he would write based off of that. Well, I figured it was great. I would use the name, and it parlayed perfectly into a wit, a Belgian wit beer, Belgian wheat. So that kind of named itself.
That is awesome.
Yeah, so we do have that on tap.
Yeah.
That is pretty fly. I was reading names. I was like, oh, shit. Oh, shit.
Yeah, I mean, the ones that we have on tap, I mean, I think the quick story behind them, 1724 is the year that he went to London to buy his first printing press when he was 18 years old. I don't even know what's on there. Academy is obviously, because he did, like I mentioned before, the University of Pennsylvania.
Yep.
So that's Academy. The America's Gold was really one of the first beers that I made. And when Howard and I first started talking about Ben and all that stuff, it was, America, let's see if we can get away with using the name America. We weren't even sure at the time, with naming and all that. I mean, this was, you got to remember, this was, I think when we started doing it, we were like 50-something brewer in the state of Ohio, and now there's like close to 500 of them.
Oh yeah,
There's a lot.
there's massive.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we were right on that cusp of nobody really knowing what the hell we were doing or what was going on.
And then the craft beer market just was like,
yeah,
just
and
like it came out of nowhere.
Right.
so there were things that you could get away with today with labeling that you couldn't get away with back then. You know, there were,
Right.
and we weren't sure if we were able to do
Right.
it, but we did, and we went with it. And then there's Anthony's Afterwit. Ben's Brown is actually, I had forgotten the name of the beer, to be honest. And then Howard sent me something, and we actually called it Confederate or Counterfeit Brown because Ben was the first person who was tasked with making paper money.
Oh, nice.
For the states when
Wow.
all that was going on, and he used leaves and fauna of the day to print that into the money since he was the printer, so that it couldn't be counterfeited.
Nice.
I mean, he was good at a lot of things that
Yeah.
he did. That's why, I mean, without Ben, I don't know.
I tried the Ben's Brown the other day. It's pretty.
Yeah.
pretty good.
Yeah, and then the Bucket Brigade is obviously the fire
department.
Fire.
Yeah.
Yep, fire department. So it's a red ale that fit with that.
I like it.
I like it a lot. That's pretty dope.
Thank you.
Well, Jacob, do you have any more questions?
No, actually, I do not. You came
I
up with
think we're
questions.
both ready to get into tasting, which I guess we're going to do tomorrow.
Tomorrow.
So not today, but
Oh, we'll be okay. We'll be okay. We got,
yeah.
we got friends coming tomorrow to see us too. So.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
I did not know that.
Yeah. But I guess that's it. It's been another episode of Beer Talks.
Well, cool.
He's Mark. I'm Jake. He's Aaron. And